Welcome, everyone, to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're tuning in today because, honestly, we're about to embark on a truly incredible journey. We're going to explore the ultimate machine, a total marvel of science and engineering that you just so happen to pilot every single day. Yep, we're talking about the human body. In this explainer, we're going to take a highly visual, step-by-step trip. We'll start at the macroscopic scale, the stuff we can see and feel, and then we're going to zoom all the way down, past the cellular level, right down to the bizarre quantum and atomic realm. Get ready, because you are about to look at yourself in a completely different way. But hey, before we really get going, consider this slightly bizarre question. What do you have in common with a cabbage, an exploding star, and a bacterial colony? I know, it sounds like the setup to a really strange joke, but I promise you by the end of this explainer, you're going to understand exactly how deeply connected you are to all three of those things. It's just one of the many wonderful, mind-bending facts we're about to explore together.
All right, Section 1, Feats of Human Biology at the Macro Scale.
Okay, let's dive right into this. When we think about human strength, we usually picture world record strongmen, right? People like Hafthor Julius Bjornsson, that massive Icelandic athlete who can deadlift over 1,000 pounds. And sure, that kind of external, visible strength is absolutely mind-blowing. But what's even more staggering is the hidden biological strength happening inside you at this very second. Your internal systems are performing feats of endurance and power every day that honestly make a heavy deadlift look like a light warm-up. Just consider this staggering number: 5 liters of blood pumped every single minute. Your heart, which is a muscular organ roughly the size of your fist, just works continuously. No breaks, no vacation days. Over a typical 70-year lifespan, it's going to beat over 2.5 billion times. And it is relentlessly pushing those 5 liters of blood through an internal network of vessels that is 60,000 miles long. To put that into perspective, if you took all the blood vessels in your body and lead them end to end, they would wrap around the Earth more than twice. No way, right? So, to manage all that insane traffic, this biological highway system has to be strictly organized. Your arteries act as the thick-walled, outbound lanes, carrying freshly oxygenated blood away from your heart to the rest of the body. Then, the veins carry the oxygen-depleted blood back home to the heart. And bridging the gap between them are the capillaries. These are your body's smallest, most numerous blood vessels. Some are literally so tiny that your red blood cells have to move through them in single file. That's where the actual microscopic exchange of oxygen, nutrients, and waste takes place. Moving on to Section 2, Brain Myths and Marvels, the body's command center. Now, what's really interesting here is how often we compare the brain to a computer. Looking at these facts from UC Davis, you can totally see why. Your brain packs in roughly 100 billion neurons, which is a number remarkably similar to the stars in our galaxy. But for me, the most staggering part is the speed. Information travels along your axons, those are the cable-like structures connecting your neurons, at speeds of up to 268 miles per hour. Your thoughts are literally racing around your head like a high-speed bullet train. But, despite its absolute brilliance, the brain is the subject of a lot of misinformation. You've probably heard that famous claim that we only use 10% of our brains. It's a fantastic plot device for sci-fi movies, but actually, it's entirely false. The reality is that we use 100% of our brains. We know this for sure because clinical studies show that damage to virtually any region of the brain causes real, noticeable changes in behavior or abilities. Every single fold and wrinkle is there for a reason. Speaking of brain abilities, let's actually test one right now. Wherever you are, I want you to close your eyes and simply touch your nose with your index finger. Go ahead, try it. You didn't miss, did you? But think about it. How did you do that? You didn't use sight, hearing, taste, touch, or smell to find your nose. You used a secret extra sense called proprioception. It's essentially your brain's metasense. It constantly tracks exactly where your body parts are in space relative to each other, combining muscle memory with this innate feel for your body's shape. Turns out we have far more than just the traditional 5 senses. Let's keep zooming in. Section 3, the microscopic hitchhikers, are trillions of guests. So, the crucial point here is that, well, you're barely even human by the numbers. Seriously, by sheer cell count, there is 10 times more bacterial life inside your body than actual human cells. You have around 10 trillion human cells, but you host roughly 100 trillion bacterial cells. You are basically a walking, talking ecosystem, what scientists call a holobiont. And hey, this is a good thing. Without these friendly microscopic hitchhikers producing enzymes in your gut, you'd struggle to digest your food and extract the nutrients you actually need to survive. But gut bacteria aren't the only ones calling your body home. Which brings us to this slightly creepy yet incredibly fascinating question: who else is living on you right now? Well, allow me to introduce you to the eyelash mite. Depending on your age, there is about a 50% chance that right at this very moment, you have tiny, near-transparent creatures living right at the base of your eyelash and eyebrow hair follicles. They're about a third of a millimeter long, so you definitely can't see them with a naked eye. They just spend their time peacefully feeding on the natural sebum, the oil that your skin produces. Don't panic, they are generally completely harmless. It's just a fun little reminder that you're never truly alone. Down another level we go. Section 4, decoding our DNA, the genetic blueprint. And this next fact brilliantly illustrates the sheer efficiency of biology compared to human technology. DNA is essentially nature's hard drive, and it is unimaginably compact. Get this. Back in 2012, researchers estimated that the entire digital data of the world at the time, a mind-boggling 1.8 zettabytes of information, which includes literally every photo, video, and document online, could theoretically be stored in just 4 grams of DNA. It's stable for thousands of years and packs way more information into a microscopic space than the most advanced supercomputers on Earth. But here is where DNA gets a little humbling. Remember that bizarre question from the beginning of this explainer? Well, because all cellular life on Earth evolved from the last universal cellular ancestor, or LUCA, roughly 4 billion years ago, we share a massive amount of genetic code with the rest of the natural world. In fact, if you were to compare a human genome to a cabbage genome, our DNA is 50% exactly the same. We both share the basic biological instructions needed to build and operate a living cell. So yeah, you're basically half a cabbage. Finally, our deepest zoom. Section 5. We are mostly empty space at the atomic level. An adult human body is made up of about 7 octillion atoms. That is a 7 followed by 27 zeros. But here's the crazy catch. Atoms are almost entirely empty space. The nucleus of an atom is so incredibly tiny compared to the whole structure that it's kind of like a fly buzzing around inside a massive cathedral. If you were to magically remove all the empty space from those 7 octillion atoms, your entire body would compress into a tiny little cube less than 1/500th of a centimeter wide. Because we are mostly empty space, things get really weird when it comes to the everyday concept of touch. You see, the closer atoms get to each other, the more their electrical charges repel one another. This is called electromagnetic repulsion. It's exactly like trying to push 2 immensely powerful magnets together, North Pole to North Pole. Because of this force, the atoms in your body never actually physically touch the atoms of anything else. Right now, you aren't actually touching the chair you're sitting on. You are floating a microscopic, incredibly tiny distance above it, suspended by an invisible electromagnetic force field. So, where did those floating atoms even come from? Well, this brings our narrative full circle, answering the last part of our opening question. The hydrogen in your body is 13.7 billion years old, born straight out of the Big Bang. But the heavier atoms, like the carbon and oxygen that make up your tissues and your DNA, couldn't be created that way. They were forged in the fiery cores of stars between 7 and 12 billion years ago, and then blasted across the universe when those stars exploded. As The Guardian put it so beautifully, the components of your body are truly ancient. You are stardust. And our connection to the cosmos doesn't even end there. Our bodies are perfectly tuned to observe the very universe that created us. Your eyes are so incredibly sensitive that on a clear, dark night, you can look up and detect photons of light from the Andromeda galaxy without any technology at all. Andromeda is 2.5 million light years away. That means those few photons hitting your retina right now began their journey 2.5 million years ago, long before human beings even existed. Your eyes are literal time machines. Which leaves us with this final thought. We've zoomed all the way from the heavy lifting of your muscles to the invisible mites on your eyelashes, right down to the ancient stardust that makes up your very atoms. You are a walking, breathing marvel of physics and biology. So the next time you look up at the stars in the night sky, will you realize you aren't just looking at empty space, you're actually looking at your own origins? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Stay curious and keep exploring.